like opening, the second day that we are here, we just met these people and then I have to talk about your.
So Patrick just accused his own estranged wife, in an actual court document, of pulling a knife on him while she was holding their 3-year-old daughter. That's not a rumor. That's not a tweet. That's a sworn legal filing. And before you even process that sentence, here's the part almost nobody is talking about yet. Less than 24 hours after that claim went public, Patrick's own legal team quietly admitted, in writing, that those exact allegations were, quote, included in error. So we've got a knife threat, a cheating accusation, a public denial, and then a walkback so fast it barely had time to trend before it fell apart. We are going deep into all of it today. The original claim, the receipts, the reaction, and the retraction that flipped this entire story on its head. But you need the full timeline first, because none of this makes sense out of order. And by the end, I'm going to show you why the speed of that walkback might be the most telling detail in the whole thing. Hey, it's your girl. And if you've been following Patrick and Thais since her arrest back in May, you already know this couple does not do quiet divorces. Every few weeks there's a new filing, a new statement, a new comment section blow up. But this week took it somewhere even the diehard fans of this mess weren't fully ready for. By the end of this video, I'm going to walk you through the exact moment this entire scandal collapsed under its own weight, in Patrick's own camp. And I've got a theory about the timing of that reversal that I genuinely have not seen anyone else say out loud. So stick around, because the ending here is honestly wilder than the opening. And if you're new here, this is exactly the kind of story we live for on this channel. So stay a while. Let's back up first, because context is everything with this one. Patrick and Thais separated back in May of this year. On May 22nd, police were called out to Thais's home in Nevada, and she was arrested on a misdemeanor domestic battery charge. According to the police report from that day, Patrick told officers that Thais slapped him on the left side of his face with an open hand, and responding officers noted marks on his face that they said were consistent with his account. Thais's side of it at the time was that she acted in self-defense against what she described as controlling behavior from him. That's her word, controlling, and it's worth remembering because it's going to come back up later in her public statements. Here's the thing though, prosecutors actually declined to move forward with the charge just 2 days after the arrest. So legally, nothing stuck from that incident. No conviction, no plea, nothing. Keep that fact in your back pocket, because it matters a lot for how you should be reading everything that comes next. Now fast forward to this past Wednesday, and this is where the story takes its first real turn. Patrick's attorneys file a brand new motion in their ongoing divorce and custody case, and this filing is a whole different level of serious compared to anything we'd heard before. In the motion, Patrick claims he discovered Thais was having an affair around April 11th of this year. According to the filing, once he found out, she demanded that he move out of their shared home, and he says he actually left the residence on May 6th. Now, on its own, that's dramatic, sure, but it's still basically he said, she said about why a marriage ended. Couples accuse each other of infidelity in divorce filings constantly. That part alone probably wouldn't have made headlines. Here's where it escalates into something else entirely. The motion goes on to allege that a couple of weeks after he moved out, during an argument between the two of them, Thais grabbed a knife and threatened him with it, all while she was holding their 3-year-old daughter, Alice. Read that back one more time. A knife. During an argument. While holding a toddler. That is the kind of allegation that does not stay contained inside a legal filing sitting in some courthouse file cabinet. That is the kind of allegation that becomes the headline within hours. And it absolutely did. This wasn't framed as a side detail buried on page 12 of some dense document either. This was presented as a central, active claim in an ongoing custody case involving their child. And on top of the affair and the knife allegation, there's a second twist buried in the same filing that I think a lot of people glossed over. Patrick also changed his custody request. Earlier in this legal process, he had been going for sole legal and physical custody of Alice. In this new motion, he shifts to asking for joint legal and physical custody instead. Now, on the surface, that almost sounds like he's being the reasonable one here, softening his stance, showing he's willing to share. But sit with the timing of that for a second. He's asking for more shared custody in the exact same document, where he's accusing the mother of his child of grabbing a knife and threatening him with it while she was holding that same child. If you genuinely, truly believed that the person you share a toddler with pulled a weapon during a fight with your daughter in her arms, would your very next legal move be to ask for more shared time with her? Something about that combination just doesn't sit right with me, and judging by how fast this thing unraveled, I don't think it sat right with a lot of other people either. So the story breaks Wednesday, and it spreads fast. TMZ picks it up almost immediately. Starcasm runs their own breakdown. The Ashley's Reality Roundup covers it in detail, and within a matter of hours, this is everywhere across every reality TV fan space you can think of. Comment sections, forums, group chats, all of it lighting up at once. And Thais, to her credit, or to her detriment depending how you look at it, does not sit back quietly on this one. She starts responding directly in the comments underneath these blog posts, which, if you've followed this franchise long enough, you know is basically her version of holding a press conference. No formal statement through a publicist first, just straight into the replies. Her response is blunt, and it's fast. She says it's all fake, and that Patrick is desperate to paint her as the villain in their failed marriage. But she doesn't stop at simply denying it. She goes on the offensive right back at him. She claims that Patrick is actually the one who's been out at clubs kissing other women, and she specifically says he's done this in front of their own castmates, meaning there are apparently other people from this world who've seen it happen. She adds that she will never go back to what she calls a toxic man. Period. Full stop. End of discussion. And then somebody in that same comment thread pushes back on her directly, essentially asking her to prove that she didn't do what Patrick is claiming with the knife. Her response to that is honestly the most interesting line in the whole exchange, because she says her team is already working to find out where these false accusations are coming from. Now think about what that sentence actually implies. That's not just a denial. That's someone telling you flat out that they believe this story has a source problem, that somebody, somewhere, fed something into that filing that shouldn't be there. And it turns out she wasn't wrong to think that, because here's the part that I have genuinely not seen covered anywhere else yet. One day, just one single day, after this entire scandal breaks wide open, Thais's attorney, a woman named Carmen Marisol, goes to TMZ with a new statement. And this statement completely reframes everything you just heard. Marisol says the motion filed earlier that week contained inaccurate factual allegations concerning alleged marital misconduct. Now sit with that phrase for a second. Inaccurate factual allegations, because that is lawyer language. Very careful, very deliberate lawyer language, for this wasn't true. But it gets even more damning than that, because Marisol goes on to say that Patrick's own counsel acknowledged those statements were included in error. Read that again, slowly. This isn't Thais's team saying Patrick's filing was wrong. This is Patrick's own legal team admitting it. His own lawyers, on record, confirming the claims shouldn't have been in there. And following that admission, both sides agreed the motion will be stricken from the record entirely. Stricken. As in, legally, procedurally, it's treated like it was never filed at all. Let that sink in for a second, because I really want you to feel the actual pacing of this timeline. Wednesday, the knife threat and the cheating claim go fully public and spread across every single reality blog covering this franchise. Thursday, moving into Friday, Thais is out here publicly defending herself, fighting back against an accusation that, as it turns out, her own opponent's legal team was already quietly preparing to retract behind the scenes. By Friday, both attorneys are literally putting it in writing that these explosive, headline-generating claims are getting erased from the case file. That is an unbelievably fast reversal for something this serious. Most contested legal claims, especially ones involving accusations like this, drag out for months before anyone resolves anything one way or another. This took days. Not months, not weeks. Days. And as of me recording this, I have not found a single video anywhere breaking down what that speed actually implies about how this filing came together in the first place. Because here's my honest, unfiltered take on all of it. I am not sitting here telling you Patrick invented this entire thing out of nowhere with zero basis. I don't know that for certain. And honestly, neither does anyone else watching this video right now. What I am telling you is that when your own attorneys go on the record admitting that specific, serious allegations were included in error, that is not the language of a small clerical slip-up. Nobody accidentally writes a knife threat involving a toddler into a legal document. Somebody had to draft that language, somebody had to review it, somebody had to approve filing it with the court, and then somebody had to walk the entire thing back within about 24 hours of the public finding out. If you file something you are genuinely confident is true and defensible, you fight it out through the process. You don't quietly strike it from the record the very next day. And here's another layer to this that I think gets lost in all the noise. On that same Friday, the same day all of this walked back, Patrick and Thais actually showed up in court together in person. Now you'd think, given everything that had just gone public, that this hearing would be some dramatic showdown, lawyers arguing, maybe even the two of them in the same room reacting to each other after everything that had just been said. But from what's actually been reported, the hearing itself lasted only a couple of minutes. The judge acknowledged that both parties had already agreed to take that day's hearing off the calendar entirely, and instead of digging into any of these bombshell claims right there in front of everyone, both sides agreed to go through Family Mediation Center services to try and work out the custody dispute more privately, away from cameras and away from public filings. Their actual next substantive court date isn't until October 6th. So really think about the contrast here for a second, because I think this is the whole story hiding in plain sight. Publicly, in blogs, in comment sections, across every reality TV corner of the internet, this played out as an explosive, headline-grabbing scandal involving a knife and an affair, something that took over conversations for 2 straight days. But privately, in the actual courtroom, where it actually counts legally, it resolved into a couple of minutes of quiet procedural housekeeping and a mutual agreement to go sit down with a mediator like adults. That gap between the loud public version of this story and the quiet, almost anticlimactic legal reality of it is honestly the real headline here, even if nobody's framed it that way yet. So here's where I personally land on all of this, for what it's worth. I'm not going to sit here and tell you Thais is definitely 100% innocent of everything Patrick has ever claimed about her, and I'm equally not going to sit here and tell you Patrick absolutely fabricated all of this purely to gain leverage in a custody fight. What I will say, with confidence, is that we just watched, in real time, an accusation serious enough to involve a weapon and a 3-year-old child get filed publicly, go viral within hours, get publicly and forcefully denied, and then get formally withdrawn by the accuser's own legal team, all within roughly 48 hours of it first breaking. If nothing else comes out of this video, let it at least make you a little more cautious the next time some shocking court filing drops in this franchise, because clearly, not everything that makes it onto official legal paper survives even a few days' worth of actual scrutiny. My genuine hot take, and feel free to completely disagree with me down in the comments, I think whoever put together Patrick's original motion overreached, probably trying to build the strongest possible custody case as fast and as forcefully as they could, and it backfired hard the moment his own team had to publicly admit the specific claims weren't accurate. That is not a great look for him heading into an October hearing where custody, child support, and who pays which attorney's fees are all still very much unresolved and on the table. So here's what I want to know from you. Do you think Patrick's legal team genuinely made an honest mistake, including those specific claims? Or do you think this was a calculated swing for sympathy and custody leverage that simply didn't hold up once someone actually looked at it closely? I want you to tell me exactly where you land on this one down in the comments, because I've seen this split going both ways already, and I want to see how it lands with you specifically. And hey, if you haven't subscribed to the Tell-All tapes yet, now's a genuinely good time to do that, because we are going to be all over the October hearing the second anything new drops. And honestly, based on this pattern, something new always drops with these two. While you're at it, go check out the video we just did of Shay's daughters cornering him about his will right before his wedding, because that one is just as messy, just in a completely different, quieter kind of way. I'll see you in the next one.